Welcome. It's another beautiful day, and I've got my coffee. And since it's St. Patrick's Day, let's watch some Irish stuff.
In the misty hills of Ireland, where ancient superstitions and myths intertwine with the very fabric of the land, there exists a chilling legend, the legend of the Banshee. She is known by many names, the Bean Sea, the Woman of the Hills, but her most famous moniker is the Banshee, which translates to Woman of the Fairy Mound. The Banshee is said to be a specter, a harbinger of death, and her wails, known as Cowaneed in Gaelic, send shivers down the spines of all who hear them. Her appearance varies, but she is often described as a beautiful woman with long, flowing hair, dressed in a shimmering silver or green gown. Her eyes, though captivating, reveal an otherworldly sorrow. She is not a malevolent spirit, but rather a mournful one. Her wails are not of malice, but of deep grief, for she is believed to be the guardian spirit of certain Irish families, warning them of impending death. When a member of these families is about to pass away, the Banshee appears near their home, often washing the deceased's shroud by a stream. Her cries are said to be a keening, a mournful lament as she grieves for the soul about to depart this world. These eerie cries echo through the night, carrying both sorrow and dread. Those who hear them know that death is near, and the whole community joins in the mourning. The legend of the Banshee is so deeply ingrained in Irish culture that even today, some families believe in her presence. When her cries are heard, they prepare for the inevitable, knowing that she has come to fulfill her solemn duty. Whether as a guardian spirit or a harbinger of doom, the Banshee's legend continues to haunt the Irish countryside.
I'd never heard this story before, and it's really neat. It's kind of like she's kind of like a Grim Reaper, but not as like doom and gloom. I mean, there's still doom and gloom because there's the cries, but it's her mourning. It's her letting I'm so sad that this has to happen. But at the same time, some view her as, the guide into the afterlife. And it's like it's a good and a bad, story, but I don't know, I see it as a good one. Like your loved one is not going alone, and the spirit is here to mourn for you and to allow you to mourn with them before they pass. That's actually a pretty good way of looking at it. But yeah, that's a really good story. I like that. I'm not going to see it as a bad thing. I see it as a good thing. Excuse me a second. I just wanted to thank you for joining me for today's coffee talk. If you're having a good time, maybe you'd consider hitting that subscribe button and come back tomorrow because I'm making a new video every day.
This is one of the big misunderstandings that a lot of people have about the Irish potato famine, in that they think that the Irish grew nothing but potatoes. So allow me to explain, commenter, as to why the whole story just gets significantly darker. The Irish potato famine, or the Great Hunger, was so bad because the main food source of the Irish, the potato, was wiped out, but they didn't just grow potatoes. Yes, potatoes were, at this time in the 1800s, easily the largest amount of calories that the Irish were receiving. But Ireland grew huge numbers of other crops as well. Barley, wheat, meat products, other animal products like milk and cheese, etc. Ireland was producing all of it because it was a big agricultural producer. The problem was, this agricultural production wasn't meant to feed its own people, it was what Ireland used to make money, or rather, the people who owned the fields in Ireland used to make money. So even when the famine was in full swing, massive amounts of food was still being exported out of Ireland into England, while the people within Ireland just starved. It is not a clean story.
Yeah, I looked it up. So it's from 1845 to 1852. And what I thought was just like he said, that they relied solely on potatoes, and then the potatoes got all gross and they couldn't eat them, and then they starved. But they still were making a whole bunch of food, growing a whole bunch of food and shipping it out. I had no idea. I know that potatoes, like a third of the population, it says here, a third of Ireland's population was dependent upon the potatoes for their food. And I don't know why they didn't just like, hey, we're not shipping stuff out for right now. But they still need the money. I don't know. I don't know how that I don't know. Like if I was growing something and the thing that I was eating for food was suddenly bad, I don't think I would continue to ship this other item out because, I got to feed my family. But it says that in 1847, it became known as Black 47, and 1 million people passed away and 1 million more fled the country. So the population decreased by like 20 to 25%. That's pretty crazy.
Did you know that the banshee is not the only harbinger of death in Irish folklore? Oh no, somehow it gets worse. And perhaps just as terrifying. To understand this bloody legend, we need to go all the way back to the old gods and the god Crom Cruach. Don't be fooled by this sort of rectangular, squat, cute, squishmallow looking effigy. Crom Cruach was a pretty tough god. Crom Cruach was a pre-Christian pagan god in Ireland, and he was said to be a god of fertility, and people would make human sacrifices to Crom Cruach in order to get a good harvest or lots of births, whatever it was. He's also said to be related to the later mythological figure of Crom Dubh, which is very important for our story today. Fundamentally, St. Patrick came along and kicked the living shit of all of the pagan stuff and was like, no, Christianity only. And look, the old gods weren't happy. For years and years, people had been worshipping these fertility gods and making human sacrifices in the form of decapitations. And all of a sudden, that's all stopped. The gods were hungry. And thus, the Dullahan was born. Now, the Dullahan was said to be the embodiment of Crom Dubh or Crom Cruach, depending on what legend you read. But either way, he is essentially a headless horseman, but slightly more terrifying. He is said to be frustrated by the lack of human sacrifice, and now he roams the roads, and if you hear him calling your name, you are going to die. He carries his head under his arm, and the head is supposed to be covered in this horrible mass of decaying flesh, and the whip for his horse is actually a human spine. Sometimes the Dullahan can be seen accompanying the banshee, and other times he is seen driving a big black coach with a coffin on top. This coach, or Cushtabauer, comes up loads in stories of Irish folklore and in people's first-hand experiences. There are stories recorded where people hear the coach and they run and run and run and dive onto the ground face down so they don't come face to face with it. The coach passes them by and they learn then the next day that a relative has passed away, or a friend has passed away, or someone in the vicinity has passed away. So very similar to hearing the cry of the banshee. As with all Irish legends and folklore, there are multiple different versions of this story. I've just given you sort of the brief rundown, the watered down version. And if you know anyone that has had a run-in with the Dullahan or with the coach, let me know in the comments. I want to hear about it.
So the gods are angry. Well, that god is anyway. I mean, he was having everybody sacrificing to him, and now suddenly, no, not so much. So he's why would you take on the role of collecting souls? I guess he's collecting his own souls now. That makes sense. Okay. All right, I get it.
Did you know that the Twa tribe was the first inhabitants of Ireland? And allegedly, they were all killed by St. Patrick. They were referred to as Akin by other African tribes, but by Europeans, leprechauns, meaning small body. The average height of the Twa tribe, just 5 feet tall. They practiced matriarchy and had women leaders. And these leprechauns could apparently do magic. They had advanced knowledge of medicine, metallurgy, textile, and clothing manufacturing. It's important to know that at this point in time, these tribes were referred to as Naga, which translates to people of the serpent. And this theory suggests that St. Patrick didn't actually force snakes out of Ireland, but the Twa tribe. It was mass genocide. And the Twa tribe didn't have a written history or written practices. They had certain people dedicated to remember the history of their tribe. So once they were killed, the history was lost, and religious temples were built on top of where their tribe used to live. What do you think?
So I had heard that story before, and I don't know of its validity. If anybody knows if that's accurate, let me know. I know they say that he chased the snakes out of Ireland because there's no snakes in Ireland. But I also know, I just learned that he was actually not Irish. He was British, I believe. And he was captured as a slave for like 6 years, something like that, in Ireland, and then he escaped. Um, and then he, became super religious Christian guy and came back to spread Christianity, and that's how he became so popular in Ireland. But yeah, I learned some things today, and that's kind of cool. I hope you did too.
Does Ireland have the greatest mythological warrior ever, Cuchulainn, also known as the Hound of Culann? This madman earned his name by slaying a monstrous guard dog at age 6. He offered to take the dog's place as a guard until a new dog could be reared. Trained by the legendary warrior woman Scathash, he acquired unmatched combat skills. His mentor also passed down the Gaibulg, a fearsome spear. Legend says one cut on the Gaibulg would turn into 30 more wounds. His notable achievements include overcoming an entire army single-handedly at age 17, defeating the shape-shifting goddess Morrigan in combat, and fighting his foster brother for 3 days straight before eventually winning the duel. To make this overpowered demigod even more formidable, Culann would enter a battle frenzy known as the Riastrad, transforming him into an almost unstoppable force on the battlefield, with his appearance becoming monstrous. Despite his long list of achievements and godlike strength, Cuchulainn's tale comes to a tragic end. He was prophesied to live a short life.
I never knew the Irish culture was so rich in fantastic folklore. They have incredible stories for their past, and it's just amazing. There's all kinds of cool stuff. I dug up so many cool things today. I mean, I only get to share a few things with you, but man, I may have to do a little bit more because I love learning new things, and folklore and history is just, it's always so eye-opening, and you'll learn so much about a culture by the stories that they pass down. And I like it.
According to legend, this is an actual leprechaun that was captured in 2013. It was discovered at Carrigaffricka Castle in County Cork, Ireland. The translation is Castle on the Rock of the Fairy. The word Pika translates as ghost or fairy. The remains were taken to a specialist to be reassembled. It was kept a secret until photos were leaked. Do you think it's real?
So I just learned that it's really popular for people to believe that leprechauns exist. And I thought it was silly until I realized I believe in aliens and transdimensional light beams. And some people believe in like chupacabra, some people believe in fairies. There's all kinds of things that are a little silly to believe in. So I guess it shouldn't have been too astonishing for me to find out that people believe that leprechauns actually did and or do exist. So yeah. That being said, I hope you have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day. It is my great nephew's birthday party today, so I'm going to cut out of here just a little bit early. Please forgive me. And thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Here's my cutting room floor.
3, 2, 1.
Something. It's more something. I'm not sure what it is. I'm familiar with what a banshee is. Banshee. Actually, I'm not. I don't know what I'm talking about. We're going to look that up because that's what I have to do. So, what do you think I did? Yeah, I looked it up. I don't guess. I read. I read right here. I read in my brain. I didn't know much about this, of course. Our schools hit on topics real quick and they just blow on to the next thing. Ooh, it's over full. I'm going to drink it down a little bit. Well, that wasn't nearly as friendly as the banshee, right? Yeah, that's dumb. No. And then suddenly, not anymore. So yeah, I'd be pretty angry too. Nah, it's not a really good reason to be angry. There's a thunderstorm going on outside my window right now. It's beautiful. and loud. I don't know of its validity. I've looked up many things about St. Patrick. I know that, like, I learned that I've heard that really quick. This is what happens when there's thunderstorms. He's a little scared. He's hiding from outside. Yeah. This is where all my paperwork goes. Because this is my office. And this came as a surprise to me. Go figure. And I already said aliens. Can't think of anything else. What else is there? There's all kinds of little things that people believe in, huh? I can't think of anything else. Leprechauns actually do or did and or do exist. I can do this. They did and or do exist. So, yeah,